Super Punch-Out, the game that could never live up to the iconic Mike Tyson's Punch-Out because, well, it didn't have Mike Tyson.
I'm the best, you know what I mean? Sometimes I don't want to believe it myself, but it's the truth.
It's a great game though, regardless of how it compares to its NES counterpart. And I've noticed that most people who are fans of the game are often fans of the entire series. I mean, at its core, this game excels at what made the gameplay of the original so fun. You're given a handful of basic fighting mechanics that you need to utilize against a cast of wacky opponents. Now, the characters in the original are generally considered more memorable, and admittedly, I find myself getting excited to see the ones who returned in this game. But I still find the sequel to have its standouts, like Bear Hugger, as well as some interesting new attacks you'll have to deal with, like Dragon Chan's kicks that fly across the screen, and Mad Clown's juggling balls he throws at you. I will say though, where is Soda Popinski in this game? He was one of my favorites from the original, and he's missed here. Also, it's a bummer that they made Mr. Sandman easier. He's still fun to fight, but it's just not the same. The biggest difference they made to the gameplay is the momentum meter they incorporated in. You'll notice it at the bottom of the screen, and when it's full it allows you to throw stronger punches. Basically, it will fill up as you hit your opponent, and will stay filled up for as long as you don't get hit. This differs from the original in that you would be rewarded stars for performing certain actions that were specific to each opponent. It's a little more interesting trying to figure out how to earn these stars, but at the same time I can also appreciate the more straightforward approach of the sequel. As you've seen, there's also a huge visual difference between the two games. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out is definitely impressive with some of its larger sprites for an NES game, but the Super Nintendo follow-up is just so colorful and has a lot more detail on screen. The characters are some pretty massive sprites that really make this game stand out. The only weird thing about it is that Little Mac isn't so, well, little anymore. There was a huge charm to the size of his sprite in the original, and when people see this game the first time, often they'll say stuff like, "Hey, why's your guy so small?" I mean, it really fed into the whole underdog role of the character. Like, how is this tiny little guy supposed to take down these monster opponents? With the heart of a champion and your ability to play the game, that's what. To me, this is the true Little Mac when I think of the character, and not the noob-friendly spam artist that a lot of people think of because of Smash. Here you feel more equally sized, and not to mention he has a much meaner look on his face, which can be seen in the upper left corner of the screen. So the whole underdog thing kind of goes out the window. There's no Doc as your trainer or Mario as the ref either. Seriously, why isn't Mario just always the ref in these games? Shouldn't be a copyright issue. These are Nintendo games, aren't they? Anyways, I've been talking a lot about all of the things that are missing from this game, but let's talk about one area where I think the sequel is definitely better. That would be the progression system. For starters, the game has a save function, which is always appreciated, and it tracks your records specifically for each circuit. So once you beat a circuit, you can play the next one, or go back to a previous circuit and see if you can improve your record on it. The original game does have passwords to get to certain points in the game, but I find this new way to be a lot more convenient, and it's nice to have all your records kept track of. And speaking of these records, this is how you unlock the final special circuit. You have to go a perfect, undefeated 4-0 in every circuit to unlock it. Something I was able to do with the Eye of the Tiger, thank you very much. And then once you do get to the special circuit, it's pretty dang tough. The challenge is welcome, however, as the original is very well known for it. Okay, so who is the final fight in this game against? After the last game had Iron Mike himself. Well, that would be Rick and Nick Bruiser. Technically it's Nick Bruiser who is last, and I'm guessing Rick has an inferiority complex because of it. Sorry Rick, but Nick is just a little bit more of a bigger deal than you are. So does Nick Bruiser live up to Mike Tyson? No. How could he? And to me that's the biggest difference between this game and the NES game's legacy. When people talk about Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, the thing you always hear is, can you beat Mike Tyson? and sometimes people don't even care about the rest of the game. People just put in the code to go straight to Mike. I'm not sure Super Punch-Out could have ever lived up to the hype of the original. And speaking of hype, the game came out about a month before the first Donkey Kong Country, which had a massive amount of hype behind it. How was it supposed to compete with that? Funny enough, Donkey Kong Country was praised for its visuals, and I think that's one of the biggest draws that Super Punch-Out has going for it these days. Seeing some new characters with the 16-bit graphics is a real treat, and especially seeing the visual upgrades made to some of your old favorites from the first game, like Super Macho Man with his new tan. Seriously, this guy looked like he just did nothing but lift weights in a basement. I guess it's better than the Lux Soda Popinski had going out in the sun. A nice full-body pink sunburn. Anyways, I personally like Super Punch-Out just as much as the game that came before it, but I want to know what all of you watching think. So share in the comments what your thoughts on these two games are, and I will see ya in the next video.